What was the scariest dream you ever had? When I was around 14 years old, I started having these short reoccurring dreams of me in front of a temple, sitting cross-legged with a little girl in my lap. Everything was in black and white. And she was a small white girl wearing a white dress and had long black hair. She looked so innocent. Somehow in the dream, I knew she was slowly dying in my arms. The reason why this creeps me out a little is because I kept on having this dream. Only every time I would have it again, she would creep closer and closer to death. The worst part is that I had this agonizing feeling that there was something I could do about it. But I had no idea how to stop it. Eventually I had the dream where she finally died in my arms, and then the dream stopped. I still feel like I failed her. That's terrifying. I hope you're okay now. I had been kidnapped by a group of bad men and taken to some sort of secret location. I had my hands tied behind my back and a burlap sack over my head. Everything was extremely vivid. I could feel the itchy fibers of the rope around my wrists, and I could vaguely see through the bag over my head. The way one does when they pull a shirt over their face. Just movements and vague figures. I was taken into a room with several other people. I could tell some of them were also kidnapped like me, because I could tell they were also being dragged around through the bag on my head. The men lined us all up. They were talking, but in a different language. Then I heard three very distinct sounds. A gun cock. A gun fire. And dead weight drop to the ground. Then I heard it again. I tried to tell myself that somehow I'd get out of this situation. Someone would save me. What I thought was happening wasn't what was actually going on. I thought through the couple of close calls I've had with death, these are all real memories. And how I always made it out. My eyes welled with tears as I hoped and prayed that my redneck dad would bust through the door any moment. Guns ablazing to save the day. By this point I'd heard 2 more rounds of those very distinct sounds. Then I felt what I knew was the barrel of a gun pressed to the back of my head/neck. Where the spine connects to the skull. Suddenly I felt the most intense pain I've ever felt for just a split second, then everything was black. I did not hear anything. I could no longer see vague figures and movements through the sack over my head. It was just nothing. I did not wake up, and I didn't quit dreaming. I existed in complete nothingness until my alarm woke me up. Out of every terrified moment of that dream, every emotion I ran through, the nothingness is what stays with me the most. I think about that dream every day. It made me afraid to die. You will find no greater power than the simple thought of your own name, inscribed upon a grave. I had a recurring dream when I was a child. I would wander through my grandparents' house and no one would be there. There were no cars on the street. No one. But in the kitchen a blender was going at full speed. It was an incredibly ominous blender. I was pregnant with the devil's child. My friend and I were running away from a witch that wanted it. We get into my vehicle. I'm on the driver's side and she's on the passenger side. I lock my door, and when I reach across to lock her door, the witch flings it open, pushes my friend aside and reaches out, arms stretched. And then I wake up. It was actually a 2-parter, 3 if you count the dream within a dream when I was 12. It wasn't even scary as a dream. More because of the implication. Night 1. It started out normal enough. I was walking through the desert and out of nowhere my mother shows up. Desperate to tell me something. I listen. And she begs me to wake up. This is a dream. Please. Open your eyes and wake up. So I did. I was confused when I actually woke up. And went back to sleep. Don't remember other dreams that night. Night 2. Same premise. I was walking through the desert. But no mother to be seen. I then remember what she told me. If in a dream desert. Wake up. Please. Wake up. I open my eyes and wake up in a medieval prison guarded by some sort of monsters. Naturally, I am scared. But the people in that prison were terrified, telling me this wasn't supposed to happen, and that I should please go back to sleep and wake up in my room. It took a while for me to get to sleep being in a prison and all, and the longer it took, the more terrified they became. Eventually I went to sleep and woke up in my room. But I still wonder if that dream was trying to tell me something. TLDR. Dreamt I was walking through a desert. Tried to wake up. Woke up imprisoned in a different dream, still knowing I was dreaming. Had sex with my mom. For beep's sake, it hope it was a dream and not some bout of sleepwalking. LMAO, imagine having that dream and the next morning you walk downstairs and your mom winks at you. This is more terrifying than the actual dream tbh. Every night a random old man would come to my window, and sometimes they crawled through the bars and would talk to me about business modules. I think it's a tie between the dream where some guy was torturing me in the back of his car and the one where a couple of guys attacked me, raped me and started to decapitate me while I was still alive. My whole family was going on vacation and crammed into an old woody station wagon. We pull up to this creepy horror movie hotel, and are about to get out, and a giant blue skeleton with a bone mace destroys the hotel and starts chasing us. We drive away, and find ourselves in an underground skate park. I have to show my skateboarding skills just to survive. But before I am able, the skeleton finds us and kills everyone in sight. And then I woke up. When I was a kid, I used to have this reoccurring nightmare that my mum would kiss me goodnight and then go down the street and get into an oven and burn to death. It was so vivid that when I woke up screaming, I could never tell my dad exactly what had happened because it was so visually traumatic. I think about that a lot even 30 years later. Another peach, and this one actually still happens from time to time. Everyone I love gets onto a plane and it takes off, and then in super slow motion I watch it fall out of the sky and burst into flames. Everyone I love dies as a result. It doesn't matter how many times I've had this dream over the years, it still makes me want to throw up as soon as I wake. Does sleep paralysis count? I could see the room I was sleeping in, but everything was tinted black and blue. I had that feeling you get with sleep paralysis of impending doom. I saw two creepy children staring at me through the window. They climbed in like Samara in The Ring and crawled to my bedside, where they just stood there with their mouths open. But I was sure they were about to kill me any second. The whole time I couldn't move or scream. Still haunts me. Why are children so terrifying? When I was a teenager, I had a very realistic dream that my brother died. It seemed so real. I was called out of class to the principal's office, and my aunt was there and told me that my brother died in a car crash and that I was going home. It was weird. I had spiders for teeth. They were plugged into my gum sockets and stole all of my food. I was starving, and if I tried to chew, their bodies would squish and crunch against each other. So many hairy legs in my mouth. I had a dream like I was watching a movie, but I wasn't a part of the dream at all, where images of heavily deformed and mutilated faces would flash one after the other, lots of bleeding and parts where they didn't belong anatomically, and after every 10 or so faces the words American 28 would flash before it went back to the faces. There was a sound in the background like a ringing you hear after something loud knocks out your hearing, drowning out muffled cries and screams under it. It was super random. And I hadn't cried since my grandpa's funeral as a kid until I had that dream the year before I went off to college. I woke up shaking and bawling for some reason and just staring at the closet waiting for something to happen to me. I had that dream twice. A slightly curved line kept throwing 89-degree triangles at me. I was put in an arena with a death claw and my only hope for survival was a metal cage 20 yards away. My worst is that I get lost or lose something. Not very scary since that happens in real life. A few nights ago, I was dreaming that my throat had been cut and I was struggling to breathe because I was choking on my own blood. Oddly, I remember recalling that I wasn't in pain. I just couldn't breathe. I don't normally dream things like that. Just FYI. Maybe some crazy shamanic dream in that I got flailed and maimed in the rapids of some mountain stream while I, at the same time, was able to view this process from the banks/an elevated position. It sounds kind of silly to describe. But I once had a dream where I was being chased down my apartment hallway by the revolting slob from Crashbox. Everything was in slow motion. But he seemed to be picking up speed every time I looked back. That puppet is already purposely uncanny. But he was so much worse standing and in motion. It ended when he caught up to me and we fell through the floor and I landed on my bed. Which is when I woke up. I swear. I must have jumped in my sleep or something because I physically felt myself fall back onto my bed and that jostled me awake. I was only 5 when this happened. But I still look back and shiver. I had a dream where I drowned. I was deep under the water, felt a ton of pain and then went numb. I seriously thought I was dead. Damn. In almost all of my dreams that involve water, I'm able to breathe underneath. I've had a lot, but the most recent is my arm started the itch, and as I scratched, pieces of my skin start coming off until these sores start developing and I start picking at them and peeling them back, and as I peel my skin back it didn't show muscle, it was my regular skin, and the skin I pulled back had these long teeth underneath it and the blood was bright green and just flowing everywhere, and when I looked at my actual skin then holes from the teeth started sinking deeper and deeper into my arm until it hit my bone and started breaking my arm until it broke off and started crawling up my leg. Then I woke up.